Welcome to the Customer Wins podcast, where business leaders discuss their secrets and techniques for helping their customers succeed and in turn grow their business.
Hi, I'm Rich Walker, the host of the Customer Wins, where I talk to business leaders about how they help their customers win and how their focus on customer experience leads to growth. Some of my past guests have included, Dan Zitting of Nitrogen, Diana Caprices, the Chief Brand Evangelist at Diana Caprices Consulting, and Ellen Rogan, Financial Intuitive at Create Great. Today, I get to speak with Dr. Jon Randall, ex-FA coach. And today's episode is brought to you by Quick, the leader in enterprise forms processing. When your business relies upon processing forms, don't waste your team's valuable time manually reviewing the forms. Instead, get Quick. Using Quick, you'll be able to generate completed forms and get back clean, context-rich data that reduces manual reviews to only 1 out of 1,000 submissions. Visit quickforms.com to get started. All right. Dr. Jon Randall has been coaching and consulting the fastest growing financial advisors in the industry since 2004. He's a published author with his books, The Extraordinary Financial Advisor Practice and Attract More Clients, Better Clients. Prior to coaching, Jon was a seasoned financial advisor where he learned the ins and outs of the industry. Jon recently completed his doctorate in performance psychology. We're going to have to hear about that. Jon, welcome to the Customer Wins.
Thank you, Rich. It's awesome to be on. I'm a big fan of your podcast, so this is going to be exciting.
Oh, thank you so much. So for anybody who has never heard my podcast before, I just love to talk to business leaders about what they're doing to help their customers win, how they built and deliver a great customer experience, and the challenges to growing their own company. So Jon, I want to understand your business a lot better. How does your company help people?
Well, that is what every business's mission should be, right? How do we help other people? And I got a taste for being a financial advisor, helping other people with stuff that they didn't know a lot about. Their money, how to invest it, how to save in taxes, all that kind of stuff. And the more I did it, the more I had other advisors come to me and say, hey, could you show me what you're doing? Could you show me how you do this? How do you track clients? And I became passionate about helping other advisors and became such a big thing that after about 20 years, I stopped being a regular advisor and been on this train of just helping others. And what's neat about it is there was a finite number of people I could help as an advisor, right? I could only go so far. But by helping hundreds of others advisors, I mean, we can influence, hundreds of thousands, millions of Americans and help them have a much better experience with their advisor and a much better financial outcome.
So I love that reach, by the way, because that was the premise of me starting my software company. I was an advisor. I built the software. Everybody wanted it. And I had a question. Can I help, 500 clients, or could I help millions of clients and thousands and now hundreds of thousands of financial professionals? So to me, it was a simple math equation. I'm like, I can help so many more people this way. I love that you took that approach. Was it hard for you to give up the financial planning, or had it run its course for you?
I miss the relationships with the people. I really like the clients. I mean, they almost feel like family members after working with people for a long time. That it was hard, but they were in wonderful hands with the wonderful advisor that was my successor and took over. I was just so excited about helping others that I ran towards it. So it's always hard to leave relationships, but if you know that you're moving to something bigger and helping, either the world or your industry, like financial industry in our case, to move to something bigger felt important that, okay, even though I'm not going to help these individual families, I'm going to make a much bigger difference in our industry and improve it. And that helped me, made it easier to walk away.
Well, and you also had this incredible background of working with clients, knowing what it means to walk in the shoes of your client now. So it makes it much easier for you to understand it and create better behaviors out of it. So is there a formula to what you do?
Absolutely is. And after years and years of helping advisors, we've developed a very specific formula that's based on the theory of constraints. So if you think about manufacturing that car that's behind you, there's a lot of steps to make that happen. And so I find in the financial advisor business, it's the same, but people working on the wrong steps. People often work on things late in their process of building the car when it's actually things earlier in the process that are the real constraints.
Foundational steps. The right platform, right? So what does that look like in a financial planning world? I mean, we all think, I got to go prospecting more.
Exactly. Right. You're so right, Rich. Every advisor comes to us, they say, I want to attract more clients. I'm going to be like those big Barron's top 100 producers you coach and acquire more practices. Would you show me how to do it? And it's okay. Well, if you're not getting a lot of new clients and let's peel the onion back. What's going on here? What are we doing with existing clients? And we find some gaps there. It's not really optimized. And we pull the onion back further. The number one constraint we see with financial advisors is capacity. And there's so many studies like Investment News. Cerulli did a study recently that just says these advisor practices are filled up. And when they get filled up, it stunts their growth. The client experience declines and they stop growing. So that's why the client experience isn't optimized. And that's why they're not getting a constant stream of new referrals or even in position to buy another practice. So I know they want to acquire more clients and they want to acquire other businesses. Those are some of my absolute favorite topics. I mean, that is where I love helping advisors grow and scale. But if we got issues with clients and our how we scale, it's sort of, I relate it to trying to build a house on the second floor. Right? You've got to have a foundation. You've got to have a first floor before you start building additional floors on the house or the building that you're building. So everyone comes in and says, I want help with the second floor. But we say, okay, well, let's fix your foundation and then let's fix the first floor. Now we can build unlimited floors as much as you want. So it's the same thing, but it's our process is really just with helping hundreds of advisors, we consistently see the same things.
All right, so help me define capacity in the ways that you look at it, because my first thought goes back to my partner in financial planning. When I joined him, he said, I have 52 clients. That's the maximum number of clients that I can handle. And if I want to take on one, I've got to fire one. So, I mean, there's different aspects of this, right? Can you scale up and do 100 clients, or is it more about getting higher value clients? Is it getting the right clients? How do you help clients with this?
Great question. Industry averages suggest that advisors are on average working with between 147 and 149 clients. So
that's pretty tight. 147 to 149.
All these studies say the same thing. I mean, they do. They're all right there. Whether it's Investment News, Cerulli, they all say the same thing. So the advisor that's doing everything themselves, right, with no support, it's hard to work with that many. An advisor that has everything handled for them, hey, they could successfully work with 250 clients because all they're doing is talking to clients. Yeah. So if that's the industry average, you got to look at, all right, well, what's the role? So I find advisors that are up to 1.5 million in revenue. We can see an individual advisor can grow to that level, but it's about the max that they can handle. They probably have one, possibly two people helping them out on their team. And at that point, it's just a time crunch of there's just no more time to help more clients at that stage. To go to multiple millions, they're going to need another advisor on their team to help with the most time-consuming thing, which is talking to clients. So there's definitely these like sound barriers we see, or like glass ceilings, if you will, we see in our industry, and it just has to do with capacity. So if you're working with 50 super high quality clients, that's a great boutique business, right? And if you think about like a plane with 50 first class seats, if someone gets on, someone's got to get off. I mean, that's a really cool model. But not every advisor has access to really high level clients. You know, the industry average client right now has about 1.66 million in assets with a financial advisor. So advisors that have clients that have over 10 million, and we coach some of them that have 8 and 9 figure clients. They've just cracked the code on accessing that level of client. They don't need as many to do multiple millions and be really successful, right? They don't need as many people on their team to be really successful. Whereas the typical advisor is going to need a volume of clients to be able to get to multiple millions, and then it becomes a capacity game. So it's the founder having too much on their plate. And then the other part of capacity, if you're doing multiple millions, it's leveraging the time of the other advisors on your team and filling them up to run $1 million in revenue with around 150 clients.
All right. So look, my show's about customer experience quite often. And I think of capacity as how it impacts customer experience. So, you take that person that's got the 8, 9 figure person or families that they're managing, they are probably doing a higher type of experience. Yes. More touches, right? More quality, maybe more services, et cetera. So their capacity is actually diminished just in the nature of the services they're providing, right?
Yes, exactly.
So how do you help your customer understand the experience that they want to create so that they can actually serve it from a capacity understanding?
So I find the fundamental in the client experience in the financial services industry is first starts with what's the frequency of interactions.
Mm-hmm.
So on average, it's about 4 interactions per year the typical advisor has with the typical client. And when you dive further, the top tier of clients on average is getting 8.1 human to human contacts. And it doesn't mean they're all really long, boring meetings. Some of them might be very short phone calls, but there's a higher frequency of contact when you move up. So you're right. So that advisor works with 8 and 9 figure clients. Yeah, he's talking to a lot of them weekly, right? There's a very high frequency of contact and service. They're doing a lot for that level of client. But a typical client is about 4 contacts a year with some work outside of that. And then, of course, smaller clients you got to be efficient with, right? They shouldn't get the same level. They need to get less. So it's controlling time through segmentation is really key. That's how you can really enhance the experience for the really profitable clients for the business and not let the smaller clients steal away time. But that is the crux right there. 91% of practices are reporting productivity issues, and it's mostly due to unprofitable clients. Fidelity came out with a study said that over half of clients of financial advisors are unprofitable. So if an advisor is caught spending too much time with those unprofitable clients, I would say you'll be far more efficient taking a pile of money and lighting it on fire in your parking lot. It's a much quicker way to lose money and be profitable. But if we can reinvest more time with those better clients, maybe find a different solution or service the smaller ones in a different way, that's the key to our industry, right? How can we do more and create an even better experience for those top ones? That's what most practices are missing out on. And I always say, if you think you're doing enough, think again, because there's always more we can be doing, especially with the best clients.
Jon, this all translates to my world in software. We have an interesting problem. We have been so successful at customer success that our customer satisfaction score is 99 to 100 consistently for 4 years running. And I actually confronted my team about that. I'm like, is that too high? Because what does that mean we're doing? Maybe we're taking on too much work. Maybe we're becoming the crutch instead of the enabler of our clients to solve their own problems or to get through things. I don't know. I mean, it's a diagnosis. So it's a different type of problem than underserving and not being able to perform at all. But I kind of go back to this kind of concept. How do you identify the unprofitable customer in this realm? And this is a system that we're looking at is the smaller customers are harder for us to serve profitably.
Yes.
How do we identify that? How does your client identify it? And then what do you do about that? How do you fire the client?
So a few things there. I think the most important metric that advisors should use is revenue per client, specifically ongoing, recurring revenue per client. We're all trained to think in assets under management, right? And we all great clients in there. But you could get caught with a client that has many millions in a stock they're never going to sell, and you're generating no revenue on it. So it should be revenue per client should be your guide, and there should be some kind of barometer. A lot of industry studies show that about 5,000 in revenue per client is the profit line. The industry average client right now is producing 10,300 for a financial advisor, average client in the industry. So look what the big firms do, because you don't want to kick someone to the curb, right? Just be like, sorry, good luck out there, right? We want to care for people, make sure they have a home. Either you service them differently in your home, or you help them find another home, right? You do a revenue share with another practice, or there's practices that will buy, clients from you. But look at some of the really big firms. What they've done is they've created their own call centers, right? So they'll compensate advisors for a certain level client and above. And under that, it's meant for those clients to be serviced by a call center. They're just serviced differently. So they have a solution for them. So the really big firms we work with, especially the 8-figure plus firms that we coach, they all have that. They've built their own call center. It runs differently, right? It's a higher volume of clients. It's more phone-based than sit down in person long meetings, right? It's just a different approach. So we're still caring for those people. It's just in a different way. So it's revenue per client, which helps with profitability, but then it's also ease of delivery, right? Because if it is, and look, advisors out there, you might have really high level clients that create a lot of revenue that's very difficult for you to deliver, and you don't enjoy it. And that's okay, right? It's okay if you don't enjoy the delivery or it's too much and you want to find another solution. That's fine. So I think it's definitely, how can you create quality? How can you be profitable? But how can you really gravitate to the ease of delivery? And I see practices kind of get to, hey, these clients are really easy for us, or we have a lot of these. Therefore, because there's volume, delivery or fulfillment is easier, right? Because more are the same. So we can deliver a high quality to the masses because they're similar, as opposed to like everyone's completely different. So that's the two biggest things I see. It's revenue per client, and then what's our ease of delivery there. We get those down, I think you can really find your sweet spot.
And I would presume the ease of delivery is pointing to the cost structure to do it as well internally.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah. There's not much cost to do. It's highly profitable. Absolutely. If there's not much time, absolutely.
Look, I don't want to guess ahead, but I'm intuiting that if you're helping a client see these factors in their business, you're also helping them redefine their niche and who they serve. Is that part of your growth strategy?
Big time. Yeah, it really is. So when you dial into, from a capacity standpoint, who's our really profit center? Who are your best clients? How can we optimize what you do for those best clients? Yeah. Are there any commonalities among them? Or do you have clients that there's other people in the world just like them? And so that's one of my favorite things to get into. How can we duplicate those ideal clients? Because that's one of the most profitable things that can happen, right? Organic referral to a top client. I mean, that's just huge. I mean, acquiring other practices, that stuff's fun. It does pay for itself, but there's a big cost to acquiring other businesses. So the best thing that could happen is you're so good at what you do that people refer other people like them, and it brings you more ideal clients. But it is really narrowing down to a target market, right? Being really, really niched. And I put it at a level, I just did a podcast yesterday about this. It's about getting down to the level where you're the only fish in a small pond of like less than 10 people. How can you be that level of you're the one that can help those people? Because here's an example. I hear so many times that financial advisors say, I work with business owners. Awesome. Yeah, right. There's over 28 million in America. That's a giant ocean. The sharks are swimming, right? The financial advisors are out trying to get these people as clients. But how can you narrow your focus to a specific kind of business and go even more narrow that it's so specific, this business in a specific area, that there might be, let's say 5, 6 other people just like them. If you niche down that far and those other people would be really good clients, you can get some really, really great referrals if you're the only one that specializes in that level of client. And it could be the level of not just working with people that own car dealerships, maybe people that own car dealerships of a specific brand, people that own multiple car dealerships of a specific brand in a specific part of the country, and there's only 6 of them, and one of them's your client. If you got that level, you can probably get access to the others. Right? The other 4 or 5 you could probably get. If you're the one that is the expert for exactly that person, you could get access to that other people. But advisors, they just don't go deep enough, right? They're like, I just help business owners. It's hard for you to ever get known, right? But it's easier to get known if you're the only fish in that really small pond. So it starts with your clients. That's your access point. And not every client's going to have access point. Not every client's willing to bring you into their access point or introduce others to you. But that's one of my favorite things, because when you do get to other people just like them, you can deliver quality, right? Because you already know everything about them, and you can deliver quality at scale when you have similar clients. So I'm a huge fan of that. In some of the practices that have grown the fastest, that bring in like over 100 million in new assets annually just from referrals, this is totally what's happened. They're just further down the path of niching down and having a specific type of person that they help best. And then it just becomes scalable when they have more and more of them. All
right, so let me tap into your psychology degree, and I don't know if this is appropriate. Isn't it scary to go to that level of niche of saying there's only 6 possible clients I could win? I mean, that sounds terrifying.
And you don't. It's not your entire business isn't based on that. But if you want to get to those other ones, faster, you focus that. And usually practices will have a few of these niches, right? It's rare that they'll have one that just crushes it. Like I know one, their office is across the street from this massive employer. Everyone at this massive employer is awesome clients, and they dominate. That's rare. Not many advisors have that, right? That's a whole nother level. So you got to have a few of these ponds to really focus on and go after. And if you get, a bunch of those clients, that's great. Then you can move on to the next pond. It either doesn't work out, or most of the time, advisors don't spend long enough in that pond, but either you maximize that pond, then you go to the next one and build the next niche. So advisors are scared to go to that level. They stay too high range, and it does go back to psychology. So I always joke and say I spent all this time getting a PhD in performance psychology to figure out why financial advisors don't do what they should be doing.
But you already knew the answer.
But the biggest thing I learned is just how we are as humans. So the human brain craves equilibrium. We like these routines that we have. When something new and different comes along, our brain says, that's not the way we do things around here. We do it this way. So we're predisposed to keep doing the same things over and over again. So what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing, expecting a different result. It's just how we are as humans. We're going to keep doing the same things. So something different like this, that, whoa, I can never niche down that far. Well, the advisors that do win. The advisors that don't, they stay in that same results that they continue to get. So it does seem scary. It does seem different, but the ones that do it win. We see it consistently, and the ones that don't struggle.
I guess this is why I'm an entrepreneur, because the idea of doing the same thing over and over again just terrifies me more. I need new all the time. I'm on a roller coaster every week. Like, yeah, no, yeah. Everything's dynamic and changing, and I love that. Okay, I want to go back to your business a little bit differently now, because one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is I wanted to hear how you create experience for your clients, because a lot of what we're talking about is how you help them create experience for their clients, right? It's understanding who they are, it's focusing on who they are. What is something unique about your world in coaching that you're maybe modeling or exemplifying in the customer experience and the journey?
So there's a few things there that have really worked. And coaching's a tough industry. I read somewhere that only 4% of coaches generate more than $1 million in revenue. So to build a multi-million-dollar revenue coaching business, it's tough. But here's some of the things that have worked for us. The most important part is that people are getting results. That is the most important part. So we've built our process. It's specifically designed to help people grow fast, because that's what they want. They want to grow, they want to scale, they want to 10x their business in 5 to 7 years. And that's exactly what we help them do. So number one, we got to have some quality, right? Just like you, Rich, you're really great at quality, your delivery. So that's number one. And then the second, the frequency of interaction, just like financial advisors, right? We have to have a regular cadence of communicating and moving things forward. So we're really good about keeping a regular cadence of coaching sessions, but also have touches in between. And I think that's what sets a lot of businesses apart, that the expectation is we're going to have a coaching session this many times, but to get an extra text or email between to check on them. You said you were going to work on this. How is it going? Hey, you were going to have that tough conversation with someone on your team. How did that go? Those little extra touches really stand out. And something that an advisor said to us is really what we try to emulate. Somebody said, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm your only client. You know everything that's going on. You're like reaching out to me, like, how do you do that? And that's really that's the ultimate compliment meant for any business that has a lot of clients, that you make me feel like I'm your only client. So that's what we really try and model for advisors and help them feel that. Some of the other smaller things, gifts are okay. Listen, successful advisors can buy stuff, right? The clients of advisors, they can buy stuff, right? It's not about that. It's more about the thoughtful touch, right? So thoughtful touches are time. It's not about sending an expensive gift. It's more about, I was thinking of you, and it's a surprise. It's out of the blue. So we copied a lot of those things from the Ritz-Carlton. I had a complete enjoyment of going through their service excellence program, and they show how they deliver, right? And they're not perfect. It's, hey, we mess up a lot, and it's about how we recover from those mess ups. It's about creating long-lasting experiences so people want to come back to the Ritz-Carlton. That's what the ladies and gentlemen are delivering there. So those extra touches do help, and a lot of times advisor gets some and say, oh my gosh, I'm going to do this for my clients. And we're like, yes. That's what we're trying to model. You could do that for your clients. You can use the exact same gift and give it to them. Your best people love that. So it's that. And then for us, it's the community then. We get our community together virtually once a week and talk about things and work on things as a group. And then once a year, we get together for a big in-person workshop, have, hundreds of people there. It's really fun for them to be around each other. So that's kind of like the end of the day. That's kind of like the glue that really keeps people together. But that's really what we found. You've got to deliver quality. You've got to have a consistent frequency of contact, extra additional touches that are unexpected between, whether they're a text, an email, a surprise little thoughtful touch, or a gift, something like that. And then having some community. That's really worked for us.
Oh, I love this. What a great layout. Let's go to this cadence of communication, because those small touches of like, hey, how did your move go this weekend? And you know what's going on with your client. Those really matter. But man, I'm terrible about that. I don't remember birthdays, anniversaries, et cetera. So how do you manage that information so that you can act on it? You guys just have big brains?
No, not at all. So this is where a solid CRM helps, right? And having team members helps too, to know that what we're going to do. So we try and program as much as this stuff as possible. So at a minimum level, when we do coaching sessions, I mean, we take some notes. We kind of have organized. You said you were, Rich, you said you were going to do A and B. Okay, well, we write down A and B in our CRM. So we know we're going to do A and B. So the worst thing that happens is someone on our team can say, all right, it's time for Touch with Rich. Let me go see what he's working on. And I can just send him an email or text that says, how are you doing with A or B? Right? At a minimum, like a team member could do that for you. So having the information somewhere is an important starting point.
Part of the process is your team is consistently going through this process with your ongoing clients, and they're looking at notes and they're saying, okay, how do you automate it? What's your next step then? If that's
so our team's really split in delivery and then on the front end, marketing and sales. So delivery, they're watching how often are we communicating with the client. Are they showing up to our group stuff? Are there any gaps, right? And if there's gaps, then it triggers even more outreach for them, right? It might even be a phone call for someone on our team. Say, oh my gosh, Rich, how are you doing? What's going on? I noticed you haven't been to your last coaching session. You haven't been on the weekly thing. We haven't heard from you. But we'll know if someone's going on a big, Europe vacation for a month with their family or something like that. We'll put in our CRM, but we've tried to automate it. We've really tried to automate it. And I've tried to leverage some people on my team to make it seem like it's coming from me, even though it's a team member that's like sending the email or sending a text from our main line. And clients, I mean, they love it. They will respond back. They respond back a lot if it's once. If we send a blast email to everyone that, no one even reads it, it's really low engagement. But if we do send individual things, and so that was kind of like step one of programming it. And then and then every week we talk at a team, like we do it Wednesday mornings. I talked to my team members before we recorded this podcast today. And we go through clients with the our delivery team, and we'll look at, is anything special going on? Is someone buying a big practice that we should give some extra touch to? Is someone, working on something big that we can remember? So we'll kind of go through, which is what the Ritz-Carlton does. They do a daily like stand-up meeting, and they'll talk about the ladies and gentlemen that are there, maybe some VIPs that are checking in that day. And they'll talk about, some of them that, hey, the Walker family's checking in. They always get room service breakfast. They order the same thing. Let's just go ahead and have that ready for them so they don't have to order, right? They'll keep notes on some of this stuff in their database, and they'll be prepared for it. So we've just tried to copy the same thing of what can we proactively do that isn't reactive? Because I'm definitely not going to remember any of this stuff, right? I'm definitely not. You've got to kind of program it. And then the same in the financial advisor business, right? They need to program some of these things too, but it can totally be automated, and you can leverage, administrative team members can help deliver a very high quality experience.
All right. New achievement I want to unlock. I want to be remembered in the Ritz-Carlton database for what I eat so consistently they already know.
Yeah.
Wow.
They know. Yeah. They call it the Mystique database. They have it.
Man. Jon, I'm running out of time, but I want to just briefly talk about artificial intelligence, because there's so much movement in our space with freeing up advisors' time to give them capacity and communicate with their clients more, et cetera. What is your view? How are you seeing AI impact the customer experience and what you've been teaching people all these years?
Yeah, I think it's an incredible enhancement, right? I think advisors can be even better. I think to help with preparing what advice they're going to give to clients, running portfolios, doing administrative tasks, right? There's so much it can do. And I really see firms being a lot more profitable going forward because they won't need as many people on their team per, revenue that they're running. So that's going to drive profitability if the revenue per team member is much, much higher. I see it as a big enhancement. People ask me, gee, am I going to get replaced as an advisor? And there's studies around this, that the human to human connection is not going away. Listen, things like, retiring with your millions of dollars, am I going to be okay? Humans don't want a computer to tell them that. They want to know that they're going to be okay. And there's a lot of emotions tied to it. So that part is critical. People talking to clients is not going away, but I think that there's rapidly so many enhancements for administrative tasks, preparing for meetings, right? So many things that can be done. Writing, right? It can write incredible emails and content, right? I mean, it's just awesome to see what's happening. So I think it's a wonderful enhancement. I think it's going to propel our industry forward very quickly and very rapidly, but it will never replace that human to human interaction.
Do you actually see it adding capacity for people to take on more clients then? Do you see they can add 10% more clients, 30%? Do you have any ideas?
I do. I mean, the time talking to clients, I mean, that's still a time constraint, but I see it for their teams, right? That have people that are helping them prepare for meetings. Well, you can have someone do that. Someone that's writing a touch email to a client. I mean, that can all be automated, right? AI can do that for you. So I see it at multiple levels. The advisors that are doing some of the prep or writing an email themselves, or doing a portfolio review, or preparing financial planning recommendations, those advisors will probably feel it the most. But just keep in mind, the time talking to clients isn't going to change with our larger firms. We're just seeing, all of the other people behind the scenes. There just won't need to be as many of them, which means you could grow with the people you have, right? They could have less work. You could scale in 10x and not have to hire 10x number of people, maybe only need double the people to run a business that's 10 times larger.
See, that's one of the most exciting things to me about my own business is AI is going to help us go faster, bigger, stronger with fewer people. And I don't mean letting go people. I just mean I won't have to hire as fast. I'll be able to scale faster as a result. Okay, look, I have to wrap this up, so I'll get there. Before I get to my last question, what is the best way for people to find and connect with you, Jon?
Our website's the easiest, xfa.coach. We have some free stuff out there for people to check out. We also run what we call scaling workshops about every other week. Most of them are virtual. Sometimes we do it in person around the country. But there's some information on there. So see if you qualify to come to one of our workshops. They're not quite all day. They're like a 10 to 2, 10 to 3 kind of thing. But we go through and help people identify their constraints and how they can grow faster.
Nice. All right. I saved the best question for last. I just love asking this. Who has had the biggest impact on your leadership style and how you approach your role today?
It's without question a gentleman named John Cutton, who's the number 5 Barron's ranked advisor in the industry. And he was actually one of my training managers when I started as a brand new advisor in New York in 1999, straight out of college, knew nobody, knew my girlfriend and her parents, who's now my wife and my mother and father-in-law. But this guy cares and goes to a whole nother level. So he's got a massive business doing about 125 million in revenue, about 17 billion AUM. He's really built a massive business, but this person goes to a high level. So it's a privilege to work with them on their growth path. But in exchange, we've learned so much from them, and specifically from him on his leadership style of just never leaving any stone unturned, always going deeper and always helping everyone on his team go to the next level.
Oh, I love that. Bring everybody with you. You got to bring everybody with you. I love it. All right, look, I hate to wrap this up. I've really enjoyed talking to you, but I'll give a huge thank you to Dr. Jon Randall, the leader and consultant of XFA Coach, for being on this episode of The Customer Wins. Go check out Jon's website at xfa.coach. And don't forget to check out Quick at quickforms.com, where we make processing forms easier. I hope you've enjoyed this discussion. We'll click the like button, share this with someone, and subscribe to our channels for future episodes of The Customer Wins. Jon, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Rich. Keep the podcast going. I'm a huge fan.
Thanks for listening to the Customer Wins podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.